Hello everyone. My name is Hussein, and welcome to yet another episode of the Flag Goes Up podcast. It's that time of the season again when Spanish football peaks. We get to have arguably the greatest game in club football. We're of course talking about the El Clasico, Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Now these two teams have dominated not only Spain but also Europe in recent years. Barcelona winning the treble twice with first with Pep Guardiola, then with Luis Enrique, and of course Real Madrid winning the Champions League four times in the last 5 seasons. But obviously now their form has not been as good as it was earlier. The club's stature could say has gone down a little with respect to their performance in domestically and in Europe. But of course, the one major difference that we're going to notice in this season's Clasico is that for the first time in 10 years, neither Cristiano Ronaldo nor Lionel Messi will be a part of it. But El Clasico existed before Messi and Ronaldo, and it will continue to exist after Messi and Ronaldo. And of course, for this preview, I've got with me Bhanu, who everyone knows is a big Real Madrid fan, supporting the Real Madrid jersey, and of course Gurjot. So let's get right into it. Let's just preview this arguably the biggest game in club football, the El Clasico. So let's just start with Real Madrid's tactics first and get Bhanu's views in. How do you think Real Madrid is going to set up, and how they've been playing so far this season? I think they have played better than Barcelona. I mean, their fortunes have been better than Barcelona in Europe as well as domestically. Karim Benzema and Vinicius have been in great form, although some of their players haven't played as good as Ancelotti and the fans would have liked them, but they're still, doing better than Barcelona. So how do you think they're going to set up for this particular game? And obviously, keeping in mind the way they've set up in the previous games that they have played this season.
Yeah, I think they'll start with a 4-3-3 formation. Noble four defenders at the back, and Casemiro will play as the defensive midfielder. And I think he'll be accompanied by Cruz and Modric. Cruz has just come back into the season, but he has had 2-3 weeks of rest due to this international break. So I think he is fit now, and he will start. And up front, I think we'll see Benzema, Vinicius, and I think Rodrigo also performed well in the Champions League match against Shakhtar. So I think he'll get the nod over Asensio as Hazard is obviously injured. So yeah, I think we'll see them start in a 4-3-3.
Okay, so what about David Alaba? Has he? I haven't been following Spanish football and Real Madrid particularly this season. So obviously David Alaba was signed as Sergio Ramos's replacement. So has Ancelotti played him as a centre back, or is he currently playing as left back as he used to play in Barcelona in the early days of his career?
Yeah, initially.
In Bayern Munich.
Yeah, initially in the first two matches of the season, he started as a left back because both Mendy and Marcelo were injured. But as the season progressed, he has started to play him in his natural, I think, centre back position, the position he has played for Bayern for the last, I think, 2-3 years. So yeah, but defensively, I think Madrid still have a lot to develop. So it will be important to see how he does that.
All right, fair enough. And what about Barca? What can we expect from Barcelona? I mean, obviously we cannot. I don't think anyone will be expecting much from them, given the fact that their form has been quite poor. Even in Champions League, if we talk about consecutive 3-0 defeats to Benfica and of course Bayern Munich, and even in domestically, I think they recently lost to Atletico Madrid. Obviously they beat Valencia, but I think they're currently seventh in the league standings. So what can we expect from Barcelona, and how do you think they will set up for this particular match?
Front, Ansu Fati is back, so surely he'll start along with Depay. The one position I would like was to see how will they handle the positioning of Sergio Aguero, because he has always played as a striker in all of his career, and we've obviously got Depay, who has more of played as a left winger or center forward his career as well, and there's Fati there, who is primarily a left winger. So I don't know how they set the three of them up if he does start. So that will be interesting to see.
Yes, but Ronald Koeman has gone with a back three as well a couple of times, and I think it has been, I think this is his third season as a Barcelona manager, or only his second season. This is only his second season. So what is like? I mean, obviously, if a manager has been in charge for more than 1 year, you get to see a certain identity when the team goes out to play. If we talk about how Ancelotti's Madrid play, how Klopp's Liverpool play, how Nagelsmann's Bayern Munich plays. So what is Koeman's identity? Because I think I fail to understand, because he tweaks his formations a lot. Sometimes he plays with a back three, sometimes he plays with a back four. So what can we expect from? I mean, what has Barcelona's identity been? Because a couple of seasons back, I think we were very clear that Barcelona played with this tiki-taka football. They'd like to keep the possession and then attack, try to score as many goals as possible. And even when they lose the possession, they try to win it back as soon as possible, rather than coming back into every player coming back into their original positions. So do you think that still exists, that tiki-taka philosophy still exists, or do you think Koeman has tried to bring his own philosophy into this Barcelona team, or is there no philosophy at all? Do they play without any identity?
Yeah, I do think I think he has tried to implant his blueprint over this Barca squad, but I don't think any difference he has made over the course of his 2 seasons. Because in some matches we have seen that Barca. This is the same Barca team we used to associate with that whole tiki-taka brand of football, and we have seen them trying out 30 or 40, 50 crosses in a match. So that is not what you expect from Barca at all. And in some matches, he has, as you said, tried to use that three at the back formation. And he did get a lot of stick for that because,
it's
the
too
Barca
defensive.
the Barca hierarchy, they always try to support that Johan Cruyff ideals and play that 4-3-3 formation with that passing football and all. But he has been erratic throughout his career, and I don't know what he'll try to do for the Clásico.
Do you think he will last this whole season, Ronald Koeman? Do you see him getting sacked or leaving the club by mutual consent or whatever?
As a Real Madrid fan, I hope he doesn't get the sack. I seriously pray for that. But seriously, I think he'll be sacked.
He'll be sacked.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get Gurjot in. So Gurjot, what are your thoughts on, if we talk about tactics of, obviously Real Madrid and Barcelona, how do you think both these teams will set up? Do you agree with Bhanu, or do you think, there might be a little few tweaks from either managers?
Yeah, going back, Barcelona used to be my second favorite club. I used to support, of course, Lionel Messi.
As an Arsenal fan, how can you support Barcelona as your second favorite club?
As a second favorite club because of Lionel Messi. I just love the guy. Okay. So I used to support Barcelona in all the El Clásicos, and I used to love when he used to score against them. But since then it has gone all downhill. And I agree with Bhanu in all the points. I think, that Barcelona, is it home or away, I guess?
It's at the Camp Nou.
Yeah, it's at the Camp Nou. But I will not be surprised if he goes back to the 3, because they don't have the players. Most of the players are young. So you can't count on 18 and 17-year-old to bail you out most of the time.
Absolutely.
So, most of the time. So, that's why I think Real Madrid will be, I think they will be the clear winners. Because I think that they have much more firepower in them. Karim Benzema has been outstanding in the Euros Nation Leagues as well. I think he was the player of the tournament.
Absolutely.
He should be in the top 5 or at least at the top 3, I think, for Ballon d'Or as well, because he had a fantastic season last year as well. And I fear for Barcelona because as Ronald Koeman, I don't think he's the answer. He's just a stopgap. And I think after he fails there, I think Xavi will be the one to take the throne. And we'll see the thrashing of Barcelona, I guess, again.
Yeah, even I think last year Real Madrid did the double over Barcelona, right? I remember we watched one of the games together. I think when Banu's place when Luka Modric scored the third goal, which they won 3-1. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think so. We're clear with the So I think we're clear with the tactics. I think both teams will go out with a 4-3-3, given the fact that Koeman has the tendency to go with a back three as well. But obviously it's not the time to experiment. I think we will definitely see both teams going with a similar kind of formation. And I think everyone can agree that this match will be won or lost in that midfield area. You think if Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric take the control of that midfield, I don't think Barcelona will be able to stand a chance, given the fact that the kind of form Benzema has been in. So if Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro can control that midfield and provide that service to Karim Benzema, I don't see Barcelona standing a chance in this match. Yep, right. So moving on, I think that's it with the tactics. Let's talk about the players who can influence the match. Now, obviously, the key players, 2 or 3 players from both Real Madrid and Barcelona, who can be that X factor take their teams through to this first Clásico of the season. So let's start with Real Madrid. Obviously, Karim Benzema is going to be the obvious mention, but who other than Karim Benzema do we think that can be influential in this first Clásico of the season?
I think Vinicius will play a big role because he has sort of developed in this season. He has sort of developed into a good finisher for the.
Absolutely.
I hope I didn't spoil anything.
Is he talking about Vinicius, right?
But yeah, he has scored 7 goals in the first 11 or 10-11 odd games, and he has assisted a further 5, and he's just scored a brace against Shakhtar in the Champions League. So he is in red hot form, and dribbling and pace has always been associated with him a lot. So we'll regularly see him do that, but to add that touch of loss over his overall play will be a big factor. So I do think Vinicius can be in the X factor for the team as well.
Okay, and in that midfield, do you think it's going to be the same 3, Casemiro, Modric, and Kroos? Do you think it's going to be that 3 in the midfield who will?
Yeah,
because I think those 3 started against Shakhtar as well.
Yeah. Valverde can play. I won't be surprised if Valverde plays, because he started that 9 first 9-10 games. He started all of them. So he is a favorite of Ancelotti. So, but it is that trio, Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, that experience, that the level of performances they have put in over the course of the last 5-6 years. So they have been associated with Real Madrid and that Real Madrid midfield for a long time. So I do think they'll get the nod.
Fair enough. All right. So what about Barcelona? What can we expect from Barcelona? I think they are also very, it's obviously, tiki-taka football. When we associated them, it all came down to that midfield 3 of Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta. Now Busquets is still there. Obviously, we've got Luke De Jong with him, who has played a lot of minutes under Koeman and with Barcelona. So who do you think will be the player who could influence the match for Barcelona?
Frankie De Jong, yeah. Frankie De Jong has to be an enormous player in that midfield, because if he doesn't show up for the game, the whole Madrid midfield will run riot over that whole Barca team. So he has to show up for the game. And we obviously know Pedri, I don't think will be there. So a lot will depend on him. And Gavi is a youngster, so I don't think much will be expected of him. But Busquets, I think he has... I think his level of performances has gone down a bit over the last 2-3 years, but that has to be, I think, expected with age. So I think, Frankie De Jong has to be the player for them.
Yeah, I think Busquets' performances were quite, I think praised in the Nations League, and obviously, that's what the Barcelona fans said, that it's the coach whom you play under. Obviously, Luis Enrique. They think that Luis Enrique can still bring out the best from Sergio Busquets, who is also obviously in the twilight of his career, and that is the reason why Koeman has had that stick. So obviously, if we talk about Barcelona, I think Memphis Depay and Ansu Fati could be their key players who could influence the game. more than the other 9 players that Barcelona have. All right, let's go to Gurjot. I mean, what about you? Who do you think can be the influential players from both Real Madrid and Barcelona?
As Banu rightly said, Karim Benzema I think will be the one to look out for, because as we
Absolutely.
have all discussed that he's the one from Madrid and from Barcelona also. I think Memphis Depay will be the one. Ansu Fati has just come back from a long-term injury. Much more, he's their generational talent, but you will just let him lose because he's just come back from injury. Memphis Depay and Frankie De Jong I think will be the one who can take the game to Real Madrid and show their quality and all. And I'm very scared about their defense also. Mengueza, Araujo is okayish. I think Oscar Mengueza is also not up to the mark, and PK is in the toilet of his career. And his performances last season was, I've not seen the whole of Barcelona, but what I saw was not up to the mark. And Serginho Dest is also there, Jordi Alba also. But I think that Frankie De Jong and Memphis Depay will be the one to look out.
Fair enough. All right. So I think that's pretty much it. I think these are the 4 players who will be influencing the game and have the chance to win it for their respective teams. Karim Benzema is what we think. Obviously, I think we can agree that Karim Benzema has the most chance of getting a goal in this match, given the kind of form he's in, given Real Madrid's form and given Barcelona's form, how Barcelona's defense has been. I think we can be pretty sure that Karim Benzema will get a goal in this particular fixture. All right, so moving ahead now their current forms, I think this is where I think Real Madrid clearly have the edge over Barcelona. If we talk about the recent form, I think Madrid's recent form has been a lot better than what Barcelona's has. Talking about Real Madrid's last 5 fixtures, Banu, can you tell us how they've fared in their last 5 fixtures in all competitions, if we talk about it?
Okay, bro, but I don't want to talk about that Sheriff game.
I was about to say Sheriff one also.
But
I mean that's what Champions League does. I mean that is
we lost that one, and after that we lost away to Espanyol also. In that respect, I don't think we're too far off Barca.
But I think those were very narrow games. Narrow games. I think against Espanyol it was just a 1-0 defeat. Against Sheriff as well, I think Madrid accumulated a lot of expected goals. It was just that their goalkeeper was what they say, in God form. So that was the reason why. But overall,
that is true.
Yeah, but gameplay wise, I think Madrid has looked a very cohesive unit. Under Carlo Ancelotti, they look like a team again. They always look like a team. It's just that people expected after Zidane's departure that cohesiveness won't be there, but I think that cohesiveness is still there, and they still look like a team that they did a couple of seasons ago.
This Madrid actually tries to sort of play the same style of football Ancelotti tried to, I think, incorporate in his first 2 seasons at the club. They try to sometimes press higher up the pitch and play quick passing football between the lines, and I do think they'll try to do that in the Barca game as well. So
so talking about the recent forms, I think apart from the Espanyol and Sheriff game, I think Madrid have looked a very, very decent side. I mean, more than just a decent side. They have looked to their best, scoring goals, playing eye-catching football, that midfield trio controlling the game, Kroos dictating the tempo, Modric with his energy and everything. So I think, talking about Barcelona, I think obviously those 2 Champions League defeats and then one defeat, then that defeat against Atletico Madrid as well. So their form hasn't been as good as Real Madrid's, and if we compare the standings as well, Barcelona are lying 7th, and Real Madrid is I think in the top 3.
They have played 1 game less.
Madrid have played 1 game less. So who's leading? Who's at
Real Sociedad is leading the league right now, but they are 3 points ahead, I think. But they have played a game more.
So Real Sociedad is at the top of the table.
Yeah.
Wow. I think. I mean, who would have thought? Okay, all right. So Barcelona's performance has not been as good as Real Madrid's. And I think where do you think it has gone wrong for Barcelona? I think they had, obviously Messi's departure is one of the is one of the areas where it has gone wrong for them. But other than that, now that Messi had gone, and I think obviously given the fact that their wage structure was huge, I mean they couldn't afford to sign players, they were $1 billion in debt. Where do you think it all started from, if we're talking about it right now?
I think it all started from that 3-0 loss to AS Roma in the Champions League. They should have started the rebuilding process at that point, but instead they started signing players like Coutinho and Dembele for 150 odd million euros.
I think Dembele was signed. Dembele was already signed. I think the silly transfer strategy started from when they bought Arda Turan from Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, that was before that.
I think that was before everything. I think that's where their shitty transfer strategy started from. They bought Arda Turan from Arda Turan was at that point of time, he was one of the main players for Atletico Madrid. One of the main guys for Diego Simeone. They signed Arda Turan. They thought that he might play in that front three or in the midfield three. I mean, he did not get any chances. Went out to loan on Turkey, and then obviously they started buying players without any strategy, with paying huge transfer fees, and on top of that paying huge wages. Who was, I think Danny, their keeper Victor Valdez was their sporting director at that point of time, was he?
Victor Valdez? No, he
Victor Valdez.
Eric Abidal was.
Eric Abidal, yeah. So I mean, where I mean, what were they thinking of, doing this? I mean, I still don't understand. Where did it go wrong for them with respect to these transfers? I mean, were they following Real Madrid in building in what we call a
Galactico squad?
Galactico squad by paying huge transfer fees. I mean, they did not sign the right players. I mean, the kind of players that they signed, even in Philippe Coutinho or Ousmane Dembele, they did not really cement their places in that squad.
Yeah, these are good players, man. Yeah, these are good players. It's not like they were average players and they paid a ridiculous amount of money.
But Coutinho was never Coutinho. But I don't think Coutinho was ever a £150 million pound-player. Neither was Ousmane Dembele.
Ousmane Dembele, I thought that they paid more for Ousmane. He had double-figure goals and assists in that season for Dortmund. And Coutinho, for all you say that he's not, but he was a 100+ million pound player. He was a regular for Liverpool. Yeah, he was a very good player. But yeah, it's not like these were ridiculous players. It just didn't work for them. Ousmane Dembele is a right winger, and I don't think he was comfortable ever playing on the left. That's why they signed Philippe Coutinho, so that he could play on the left or some out of an Iniesta role. But yeah, the profile of the players that they bought, that was the problem, because it never fit the system of Barcelona. And yeah, paying them ridiculous wages was on top of that the stupidity that Barcelona could do. Yeah, for me, I think that's the profile of players that they bought was, I think, the rod. That's what they went wrong.
So who was the manager at the time of these signings? Who was the manager of Barcelona when they signed Valverde? I think it was Valverde when they signed Coutinho.
Ernesto Valverde was the manager. But I think a lot had to do with the previous president as well, because the kind of football Barca used to play, I don't think Coutinho and Dembele were suited to that style of football.
And Griezmann was a nonsense signing as well. Why
we forgot about Griezmann. Yeah. Absolutely.
Griezmann was also I think was 120 million signing. That was a stupid signing as well. You have Luis Suarez, one of the best strikers in the world, arguably the best strikers, and you sign Antoine Griezmann to play on the wings. Again, he's not a winger. He plays as a number 10 for France as well, because he's just with Mbappe and all. The signings didn't make any sense to me. That's why I think, and this ridiculous money. I think they took a loan of, I think, from the Bank of Spain of 120 million to buy Griezmann. They didn't have money in the bank of themselves to buy on their own. They took a loan to buy Antoine.
So if the manager didn't want these players I mean, were these signings just made to please the fans, or I mean, why would you?
Yeah.
I mean, still don't understand. But I think what I mean, as a Chelsea fan, I've never liked Barcelona.
Yeah, you do.
Starting from that 8-9 Champions League semi-final. So I think it's great that Barcelona are in the kind of trouble that they are. They deserve to be here. I think they've cheated their way through. I mean, even during Pep Guardiola's time, you could see Busquets and company diving, play acting and doing shit. And obviously, UEFA, everyone is aware of where this phrase of UEFA Lona came from. So I think it's great that Barcelona are in this kind of shambles, and I think it should continue. I think it will continue. I don't see them rising or winning anything. I don't think any big players or any huge players would want to play for Barcelona. And given the fact that we have a new superpower in football in Newcastle United, I don't see Barcelona coming to their glory days of whatever they were, when they won trebles and everything. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Now talking about the last thing, I think the predicted lineups and the score predictions. So I think what do we say about Real Madrid? I think Benzema will obviously be a sure shot starter. So will be Vinicius, and midfield three it's going to be that Casemiro, Modric, and Kroos. What about defense and that right winger place of who do you think will be going to play on the right and in that defense for Real Madrid?
I think the right winger spot will be taken up by Rodrigo.
Gareth Bale?
Gareth Bale is injured.
Yeah, everyone. Gareth Bale is injured. Eden Hazard is injured. I mean, so many players are injured.
So
but still,
I love seeing Eden Hazard injured and flopping at Real Madrid.
I mean, still don't understand where it went wrong. I mean, who knows?
Transfers are just 50-50.
He was our best player. I mean, he was our best player for 7 or 8 seasons. He carried this Chelsea team to 2 league titles, Europa League titles. You see the kind of players he had around him, and still he managed to give performances like the way he did. And now when you think that he finally got to a team for which he does not have to do everything by himself, he has a world-class striker in Benzema, world-class midfield. In Chelsea, he had John Obi Mikel and Ramirez in the first 2 seasons. Then we got Matic and Kante. He never had a world-class forward for Chelsea other than Diego Costa just for 2 seasons. He obviously his link-up play with Giroud was a little better, but again, Giroud wasn't as prolific as a goal scorer as Karim Benzema is. But yeah, I think given the fact that Hazard carried an average Chelsea players to league titles and Europa League titles, I don't know where it has gone wrong for him at Real Madrid. And he did not get injured at Chelsea. I mean, I think at Chelsea in 7 years, he was only injured for a total of 21 or 29 days. He never missed a match other than a suspension. And Real Madrid, I don't know. I think he has only been fit for 20 days.
Played for 20 days. I think
yeah. So
I don't think Real Madrid. I don't think the kind of football that players like Hazard and Neymar, we see the kind of football they play. I don't think the referees do too much to protect them, because they do the kind of football they play. They evade the tackles a lot, and some of the times they get hit by them. And sometimes the referee, I don't think takes enough action against those tackles. Or seriously don't know how it all went wrong, really.
Yeah, I mean, it pains me to see Hazard. In the kind of the situation he's in, plays 2 matches, gets injured, then comes back, gets injured again.
I used to support Hazard as a Chelsea player, bro.
I mean, he was the best player in the Premier League for the 8 seasons or 9 seasons he played. But what has happened to him, I think it's a mystery. Yeah, talking about Barcelona, what starting 11 from Barcelona can we expect?
Barcelona, I think they'll start in a 4-3-3 as well. I don't know who they'll start in that third striker, because I think Memphis Depay and Fati will.
Jorginho Dest might play.
Yeah, he did start that last match as a right winger, so he can play. So I don't think Aguero will start because he just came back from that injury. So in that midfield, I think Busquets, De Jong, and Gavi will play. And in that defensive department, I think Alba will take the left back spot alongside Piqué and Araujo. And if Dest plays further up, I think Roberto can play at right back. So, and if it doesn't, that obviously Dest will start at right back.
All right, fair enough. All right. So what about the last part of the podcast now? The score predictions. Who do we see winning? I think we can agree that Madrid will be the favorites to win this match, but what score line? I mean, do we see Barcelona scoring or do we see Madrid keeping a clean sheet? I think this should be the question.
I think Madrid will concede because they haven't been as reliable at the back. They have conceded goals. They've conceded 3 against Levante. So I do think Barca can score at least 1. So I do think Madrid will concede.
All right. What about Gurjot?
I think Real Madrid will win. I think it will be a 3-1.
3-1. Yeah. Banu never said the score. I think he's only said that they'll concede. So how many will they score?
I also think 3-1.
3-1. All right, guys. So I think that's pretty much it.
But Benzema will score.
Of course, Benzema will score. I think all of us can agree that Benzema will score, and I think even Barcelona fans know that they won't be winning this Clásico. Even Barcelona fans know that Benzema will score, and I think both of our, I think we all have predicted the same scoreline: 3-1 victory for Real Madrid. An away 3-1 victory for Real Madrid, which wasn't the case. I think they did not win.
What if Barca wins? What if Barca wins? It will look stupid.
I mean, but that's football. Yeah. You can never be too sure about anything. I mean, talking about the Euros as well, who would have thought that Switzerland match against who was it? I think it was Spain versus Switzerland, right? When they beat them 5-3. So France versus Switzerland. Yeah. So I think that's football. I mean, we can never be too sure about anything. But I think it will be a Real Madrid victory. Again, not going by their current forms and everything. On paper, it should be a Real Madrid victory if you put all the data in a supercomputer and ask him to compile results. I think if that computer compiles 1,000 results, out of 1,000 times it will show a Real Madrid victory. But anything can happen in football. Yeah, that's what we've seen ever since we've started following it. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I think this is what all we had to discuss about the El Clásico. Given the fact that this will be the first Clásico without Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo in the last 10 years. Obviously, but as I said, there was this Clásico before these two guys, and there will be Clásicos after these two, and that's pretty much it. Start this Sunday, starting the first Clásico in the post Lionel Messi era, and that's pretty much it. All of us think that it will be a Real Madrid victory, but obviously, we'll get to find out on Sunday. That's pretty much it, guys. I think that we're done for this particular episode. We hope that you liked our analysis, and if you've got any feedback, you can reach out to us on the links mentioned in our description. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you, and see you soon.
Hala Madrid.